What's going on, everybody? It's Vaaraiant and welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at another deck profile. It's post-rotation time. The rotation has finally happened and we're taking a look at a deck list that adapted and survived, which is Raging Bolt EX. So starting off, we have only 3 copies of Raging Bolt EX. Previous versions did have 4 copies and they had 3 copies of the Teal Mask Ogerpon, but this version after the rotation is pretty much reversed. So we have 4 copies of Teal Mask Ogerpon, helping our draw and getting the energy in play. Of course, a Raging Bolt EX deck cannot be without Squawkabilly EX. So this is where the deck adapts. We have 1 copy of Ditto with its transformative star ability and 2 copies of Fan Rotom because the Hisuian Heavy Ball is no longer in format, so we cannot use that and we don't want to prize this. And the deck has basically shifted into the Noctowl engine. We have 3 copies of Hoot and 3 copies of before mentioned Noctowl. So the ability Jewel Seeker is pretty broken. If you always have a Tera Pokemon in play with the Teal Mask Ogerpon, and that's where we also go for 4 copies, and you can basically fetch anything you want every turn. And now the Raging Bolt also has no problem going first. Then we have 1 more attacker, which is Slithering, which helps us disrupt the price trade and knock out Pikachu as well. Latias to give all our basic Pokemon free retreat. The Noctowls don't have it, but yeah, we can manage that. So just as a quick intermezzo, I want to mention that I have memberships available on my channel. Yes, I have finally reached that milestone in the YouTube career. So if you want to support the journey and of course earn some unique perks with it, make sure to check down below and become a member. Then, of course, Mew EX is quite important in my opinion. A lot of the lists didn't include it, especially before the rotation, but yeah, I think it comes quite handy with combination with Pheasantipity. When you get a Iono to 1 or 2, for example, you can use the cards in your hand, use Mew EX and Pheasantipity as well to draw more cards. Now, moving on to the sole engine of the deck. Besides the Jewel Seekers, of course, Sadas. That's how we accelerate our energy and draw more cards. Since we have the ability to pick out any card we want with the Jewel Seeker, well, it's usually trainers, so items or supporters, we can also utilize Crispin quite effectively because in previous versions you were not able to fetch it at a specific time you needed it. And it comes really handy. Iono as well, which is pretty nice when you have energy on your Raging Bolts ready to attack and you can disrupt your opponent, as well as the boss's orders if you want to take a important knockout. Now we move on to the Pokemon search. We have 4 copies of Nest Ball because we have a lot of basic Pokemon that we need to get out, and 4 copies of Ultra Ball, and that's it. We're not playing any Body Puffins because, you know, the likelihood of getting them and being effective is not really high. We would play 1 or 2 copies, but you know, the likelihood of getting that in the hand on turn 1 is pretty small. So a Nest Ball is enough to get out a Fan Rotom and everything almost you need. Now, moving on, we have 4 copies of Earthen Vessel. We gotta get our energy into our hand so that we can accelerate it to the Ogerpons and attach it to our Raging Bolts, and as well discard them with the Ultra Balls so that we can utilize Sada. We also played 2 copies of Night Stretcher, just mainly to get the attackers out. You know, usually it's gonna be Slithering, or people are gonna go after Pheasantipity and you use Night Stretcher to get it back and draw more cards. And 2 copies of Energy Retrieval. Previous lists usually played 3, but 2 is enough in this format. And finally we have Palpad. This is a card of choice because we are not discarding so many cards as we did in the previous builds, so yeah, but it comes handy, you know, getting back the Iono or a Crispin. A spec of choice is of course Prime Catcher. It's pretty synonymous with Raging Bolt. You probably usually don't see any other A-spec played in Raging Bolt. The Secret Box was played a little bit, but the Prime Catcher has just so much more value. And then 2 copies of Area 0 because we have Tera Pokemon, we don't have Pokestops, so why not utilize the stadiums, get more Ogerpons out and draw more cards. And moving on to energy, of course, it stays pretty simple from the previous build. 3 copies of Fighting Energy, it's utilized by the Slitherwing and Raging Bolt, and of course the 3 copies of Lightning Energy for our Raging Bolt. And we're playing 6 copies of Grass Energy. We used to usually play maybe 5, but now that we have 4 Ogre-Pons, 6 is quite necessary so that we can keep chaining them and keep drawing more and more cards. And that's it for the Raging Bolt EX deck profile for post-rotation. Let me know what you think about it, what would you change, and if you have played any games with it already. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye!